And I know this is probably weird to talk about grad school because I actually dropped out of grad school. But I still think it's kind of useful to talk about this because I think a lot of people kind of get in the situation that I was in and then it doesn't turn out very well. As kind of a safety net, which was actually the only thing I had to do, I decided to apply for grad school. And I did that because I was encouraged to by my professors, and at the time it seemed like a really great idea, and it was something I could just kind of continue on with school because I was really good at school, and I had just spent like a lot of years being really great at school, so I thought, great, like I can just keep being in school and that will be fine. So I went through the whole application process. I wrote an essay, I collected my letters of recommendation, sent it in, waited like 6 weeks, finally got the answer that I got into grad school, and I had applied only to MSU, so you can see that it was really like kind of a fallback thing. Grad school is not like my passion from the beginning of college, it's just what I ended up doing. And I applied for the Critical Studies in Literacy and Pedagogy program. So I had thought that this is what I wanted to do no matter what, and I was gonna like do all these really cool theoretical projects and like research little kids writing stories and all these things about literacy and art, and it was gonna be awesome. But then kind of at the end of the summer, just a lot of stuff kind of converged that kind of illuminated the fact that I am not cut out for grad school, or at least not at that time. And I went to a single grad class, and I had just worked all day, like I worked from 8 to 5, and the class was like from 7 to 10, and I was sitting there, and everyone around me, like we went through this little introduction where we all talked about what we wanted to do in the class and what we wanted to do in grad school, and everyone else kind of had this really like specific thing that they wanted to study and they wanted to do in grad school, and I had literally nothing. I was just like, I don't really know what I want to do. I'm just kind of here. I was doing grad school because I had nothing else to go to. And the funny thing that happens when you graduate college, if you don't go right to grad school, is that life starts to intervene. And life intervened for me in a huge way. And kind of over that summer, I realized that what I really liked to do is go running and work out. And then after I ran, I liked to work, you know, as in this job. That was pretty much what I went to school for. And lastly, after all that, I kind of had this idea that I could go to school. And so when it became obvious that it was going to be this giant time commitment that would kind of eat into this other life that I had started without school, I realized it just wasn't going to work. Well, at first I ran panicking to Laura Julier because that's just what you do if you're still in Lansing, I guess. But I went there and I told her I didn't know what to do and I was going to let everyone down and what should I do? And she was like, well, aren't you planning a wedding? And I was like, yes. And she's like, aren't you in a full-time job? And I was like, yeah. She was like, do you really think you can do all that in grad school? Do you even want to? And I was like, no, I don't want to because I have all this stuff going for me and I can't add anything else. So I ended up not enrolling for any classes. And I guess just the main point I want to make is don't apply for grad school unless you're sure, like unless you have some kind of passion like deep in your soul for being in school, because I always thought that I could be I could go to school forever. I could just be in school, I could get a PhD, I would write papers, and it turned out that about 2 weeks after graduation, the ability to do that just fled from me, and I can't even sit through a long meeting now. Like, it just does not jive with the kind of person that I am and the goals that I have, and they're just not scholarly in that sense anymore. So I guess that is my lesson about grad school, just to really make sure that if you're going to do it, that A, you can do it, and B, you really want to do it, you know, in place of a full-time job, because I just can't even imagine going to work all day and then going to class.